Good morning, students. We will talk about adenoids and different diseases affecting nasopharyngeal area in this lecture. We have already discussed about anatomy of pharynx in previous lecture. Adenoids are also called the nasopharyngeal tonsils as they are situated in the nasopharynx and they are as same as the lymphoid structure as the palatine tonsils. They are situated at the junction of the roof and the posterior wall of the nasopharynx. They are usually composed of vertical ridges of lymphoid tissue with separation between these vertical ridges by deep clefts and covered by ciliated columnar epithelium. Adenoids have no crypts and no capsule like palatine tonsil. As we will talk about palatine tonsil in another lecture. Usually palatine tonsil which are present in oropharynx, they have deep cleft and they have one capsule over the lateral side. But in adenoids there is no crypts but they are separated by clefts and there is no capsule surrounding the adenoid. Adenoids are usually consist of B and T lymphocytes. Here in this diagram you can see that this is the roof area of nasopharynx and this is the posterior wall of the nasopharynx, and adenoids are situated over the junction of the roof and posterior wall of the nasopharynx. Usually adenoid development starts at the 16th week of intrauterine life, usually clinically not present at first month after the birth. Adenoids are identifiable by 4th month to 2 years of age. After that there will be hypertrophy or hyperplasia or increase in size of the adenoid tissue which starts at the 3 to 5 years of age. This hypertrophy or hyperplasia usually last up to the puberty and then it will regress in size and almost completely disappear by the age of 20 years of age. So in this diagram you can see the overall growth chart of the adenoid, that is the nasopharyngeal tonsil and palatine tonsil which are present in the oropharynx between the pillars. Now adenoid usually enlarge mainly between the age of 4 years to 7 years of age, where tonsil attain their maximum size between the 5 to 10 years of age. Adenoid start regression early than the tonsil and they will decrease in size between the 13 to 14 years of age, and after 20 years of age they will completely regress from the nasopharyngeal area. Clinical importance of adenoid: if patient has any mass in the nasopharynx during the first month after the birth, it can be encephalocele as adenoid are usually not present at that time. If there is absence or decrease in size of the adenoid at the 4 months to 2 years of age, it is suggestive of hypogammaglobulinemia or Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. Ectopic hypophysis, that is also known as Ratkes pouch. Sometimes adenoma can be seen in females after the 50 years of age, which is present in the adenoid. Blood supply of the adenoid. Adenoid blood supply comes from ascending palatine branch of facial artery, ascending pharyngeal branch of external carotid artery, pharyngeal branch of third part of maxillary artery, and ascending cervical branch of inferior artery of thyrocervical trunk. So main blood supply of adenoid usually comes from the external carotid artery. Lymphatics from the adenoid drain into the upper jugular node directly or indirectly via the retropharyngeal and parapharyngeal node. So adenoid usually drain into the level 1B lymph node just below the angle of the mandible. Physiological enlargement occurs up to the 3 to 5 years of age, sometimes also up to the 10 years of age. And if patient has recurrent attacks of rhinitis, sinusitis, tonsillitis or upper respiratory tract allergy, patient can develop repeated episodes of adenoid infection and patient can develop adenoid hyperplasia or chronic adenoiditis So these are the main etiology, that is the physical and physiological enlargement and different inflammation affecting the upper respiratory tract and nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal area. Clinical features of adenoid enlargement. It can cause nasal obstruction at the posterior choana. Sometimes patient can have nasal discharge as the secretion emerging from the nasal cavity will go directly into the nasopharynx, as we have seen in physiology of nose. Whenever adenoids are enlarged, there is blockage over the posterior part of the nasopharynx and patient can develop recurrent nasal discharge or recurrent rhinitis, recurrent sinusitis, which is most commonly chronic maxillary sinusitis. Sometimes epistaxis can occur during upper respiratory tract viral infection, and voice change can occur due to adenoid enlargement and blockage of nasal cavity on both sides. Ear complaints. Now these adenoids are situated in the nasopharynx and they are as in close relation with the eustachian tube opening. Here is the eustachian tube opening and these are the adenoid. So adenoid enlargement can cause the eustachian tube obstruction and patient can develop tubal obstruction, and it can develop recurrent attacks of serous otitis media or acute otitis media. Chronic suppurative otitis media, serous otitis media with effusion can develop in a chronic case of adenoid enlargement due to eustachian tube obstruction. So any patient or any more commonly children with recurrent SOM and recurrent CSOM should be ruled out with eustachian tube obstruction for adenoid enlargement. Clinical features of chronic adenoid enlargement. Whenever a patient has a chronic adenoid enlargement, patient can develop adenoid facies. Adenoid facies are like the features of adenoid facies are shrunken eyes, narrow pinch nostril, open mouth and high arch palate, crowded teeth, dull mask-like face without facial expressions, protruding teeth, drooling of saliva due to constant open of mouth, everted upper lip, rhinorrhea, constant rhinitis, and loss of nasolabial fold over this side. So these are the features, characteristic features of adenoid facies that you have to remember. Sometimes chronic nasal obstruction can develop pulmonary hypertension or cor pulmonale. Sometimes patient can develop aproxia or lack of concentration. Diagnosis of chronic adenoid enlargement can be done by posterior rhinoscopic examination, in which we will do the nasal endoscopy with rigid endoscope. It is usually difficult to perform, so in those patients we can go for rigid or flexible nasopharyngoscopy. Other radiographic imaging are X-ray nasopharynx and CT scan. In this X-ray nasopharynx we can advise X-ray nasopharynx or X-ray adenoid lateral view, extended view, in which we can see these are the radio opaque shadow at the junction of roof and posterior wall of nasopharynx, marketed with white star in this diagram. This is a normal air shadow. This is a nasal endoscopic finding, and this is the CT scan in which we can see some radio opaque mass lesion or adenoid enlargement at the junction of the roof and posterior wall of nasopharynx. Treatment: when patient has no symptoms or symptoms which are not marked, patient can be advised breathing exercise, decongestion nasal drops like oxymetazoline or xylometazoline, antihistaminic and antibiotic can be used. When symptoms are marked or patient can have nasal obstruction severely, patient have history of mouth breathing and recurrent attacks of serous otitis media with decreased hearing, adenoidectomy should be advised. Acute nasopharyngitis, that is the acute inflammation of nasopharynx area. Etiology may be due to the isolated viral or bacterial infection or secondary due to the generalized upper respiratory tract infection. more commonly affected by the viruses like influenza, parainfluenza, rhinovirus and adenovirus, bacteria like streptococci, pneumococci, haemophilus influenza. In this COVID-19 era, we usually take nasopharyngeal sample from this nasopharynx area. So that is one type of influenza, and this influenzaal virus can present in the nasopharyngeal area over the lymphoid tissue and can diagnose by doing the nasopharyngeal swab collection. Clinical features of acute nasopharyngitis. There will be dryness and burning sensation of throat above the soft palate and behind the nose. Pain and discomfort localized to the back of the nose with some difficulty in swallowing. Patient will feel constant irritation over the nasopharyngeal area or just above the soft palate. In severe infection, patient can have fever with chills and rigor, and sometimes there is enlarged lymph node over the level 1B or upper jugular node. Examination reveals congested and swollen mucosa, often covered with vitis exudate over the nasopharyngeal area. In mild cases, spontaneous recovery is usually seen. Analgesic or antipyretic may be needed to relieve pain and fever. If patient has severe symptoms of fever and pain, patient requires systemic antibiotics. Patient should be given plenty of fluid and bed rest. If associated with adenoid enlargement, patient can advise topical decongestion drops, that is oxymetazoline or xylometazoline drops. Chronic nasopharyngitis. It is usually associated with chronic infection of nose, paranasal sinuses and pharynx. Whenever patient has chronic foci of infection in the nasal cavity, in the sinuses or in the pharyngeal area or like palatine tonsil, those patients can develop chronic nasopharyngitis from the foci of infection. Usually more commonly seen in heavy smokers, drinkers and those exposed to the dust and fumes in occupational exposures. Clinical features of chronic nasopharyngitis. Usually post-nasal discharge occurs with irritation at the back of the nose is most common complaint. Patient will have consistent desire to clear the throat by hawking or inspiratory. Patient will always feel that something is coming or something is coming down from the nose into the oral cavity, something pus-like or fluid-like trickling down into the throat. Examination of this type of patient will reveal congested mucosa over the nasopharynx or mucopus or dry crust. In children, adenoids are also enlarged and infected in this type of patients. Treatment is removal of the foci of infection from the chronic infectious site of nose, paranasal sinuses or oropharynx. If patient has recurrent palatine tonsil infection, patient should be advised for tonsillectomy. Smoking and drinking should be stopped. Avoid dust and fumes, which are the predisposing factors for this chronic nasopharyngitis. Alkaline nasal douching should be given to remove crust and mucopus from the anterior nasal area, and stimulation should be advised with plenty of fluids. Thornwald disease or pharyngeal bursitis. It is the infection of the pharyngeal bursa, which is a median recess representing the attachment of the notochord to the endoderm of primitive pharynx. It is located in the posterior wall of nasopharynx in the adenoid masses. We have already seen about this pharyngeal bursa in the anatomy of pharynx. So this is a infection or inflammation of this pharyngeal bursa. Sometimes Thornwald cyst can be noted, which is a fluid collection in this pharyngeal bursa, and there will be increase in size of this pharyngeal bursa, and which will replace the size of the adenoid over the nasopharyngeal area. Here you can see that there is some cystic fluid, which is cystic fluid like collection which is present in the nasopharyngeal area. This is the session tube opening and torus tuberis. This is the session tube opening. This is torus tuberis, and this is the posterior choana or posterior part of the septum. So this is a cyst in the right side nasopharynx, which is a Thunwald cyst. Here in this MRI diagram you can see there is a cystic fluid collection over the nasopharynx with Thunwald cyst. Clinical features: it causes persistent nasopharyngeal obstruction, so patient can develop persistent postnasal discharge with crusting in the nasopharynx, nasal obstruction, tubal obstruction and resulting serous otitis media or CSOM, dull type occipital headache, recurrent sore throat or pain in throat, low grade fever, and there is infection in the pharyngeal bursa. Examination reveals a cystic and fluctuant swelling in the posterior wall of nasopharynx. Treatment is: if inflammation or infection is present, antibiotics should be prescribed, and whenever there is no infection, marsupialization of cystic swelling and adequate removal of its lining membrane so it will not reoccur. So this is the main treatment for Thunwald cyst or pharyngeal bursitis. So this is all about adenoid enlargement and different infection affecting nasopharyngeal area. Thank you.